Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Welcome to another Wingin' It podcast. Andre, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I feel sorry for other people right now, but I'm
Right.
All right, so Jack, how you doing?
good.
I'm good, man. Allergy season kicked in early and it's kicking my behind right now.
I hope you ain't got COVID, man. You know.
Nah, trust me. I know these symptoms like the back of my hand, man. Because we went to I took the kids to the park today, and that's exactly when it kicked in. And I was like, gee.
All you saw was
pollen.
yellow. All you saw was that
Yeah.
yellow. Yeah.
And my oldest, he got it too. Like my youngest got lucky. He don't have allergies. So me and my youngest, we're literally just like this. Eyes puffy.
Yeah. All right, Shadow.
I just strongly urge people to look into what rights the parliamentarian of the Senate actually holds. American people should know how that system works. And,
Why you
a lot of people
asking
don't.
American people to think? Why you asking American people to think? Why are you doing that?
it's just funny to me because you got people out here just literally for the last 3 weeks they're just like, hey, it depends upon this person. Okay, well let's see what kind of actual power they have.
You mean the person that can give an opinion that doesn't really do anything?
Right, the puppet.
Yeah.
Because it's just an opinion that can be listened to or ignored.
The things that people come together to agree on is what people should pay attention to, not what they disagree on. Let's put it that way.
The
No,
federal government, the Wingin' It podcast, would like to let you know. Oh man,
I gotta build a DMZ now. Thanks.
And on that note, people, so we got a little bit of stuff to talk about. We're saving the 3 directs for the end of the podcast. And you're saying there weren't 3 directs last week. Yes, there was.
I like how you did that. 3 directs. Yeah.
Yeah, it was State of Play, AEW Games, and Pokemon. They were all 3 of them. They were directs. Microsoft, where you at? Yeah, y'all late to the party.
And look,
Hopefully they're making games somewhere.
they're going to be called directs because Nintendo started this trend first.
Yeah,
Right.
so they are directs. I mean, you can call them whatever you want to, but they directs.
You mean back when they said Nintendo wasn't competing? I need to bring that up in 2013? Do I need to?
Yeah, you need to bring all the receipts.
Look, I said it back.
Nintendo is so behind the times. They got to stand on stage at E3.
Yeah, now everybody trying to scramble to get their digital stuff up. But that being said, so a couple things. One, a lot of y'all got mad about Pyra and Mithra being in Smash, saying they don't belong. I usually don't talk about sales on this channel just because it's stupid. But you might want to check out Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the sales of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Just to let y'all know. Yeah, just to let y'all know. And some of y'all that's looking for physical copies, good luck.
Right.
I hate myself.
Yeah.
$200, $187. Like what the? Yeah, dude. Just buy
for
digital.
a $40 game.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, eBay has struck again.
It hurts, but all that is a testament to how powerful a Smash announcement is. It did wonders for the Fire Emblem series. I mean, it's done wonders clearly now for the Xenoblade series. Even before this Mithra announcement, Pyra announcement, it helped with all the original Xenoblade Chronicles. The awareness for that game, in addition to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 being more known and being the more successful of the 3 games because of the inclusion of Cloud inside of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Ultimate. And it probably didn't hurt that they remade Cloud, the same not Cloud. They remade I can't think of his name right now.
Shulk.
That holds Monado Shulk. They remade Shulk in the same art style that he was going to be in Smash inside of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as DLC. So that kind of helped with the awareness as well for both games. So I think it can help. It can help any franchise really at this point.
Well, you missed one, dude. You missed one. It helped also with Terry Bogard for King of Fighters 15.
Oh, of course, yes, sure.
It helped.
Clearly.
It helped SNK players know that they need to redesign those characters again.
Exactly.
But
Sakurai knows how to do it, and they don't.
Here's a stupid question: why is it bad for Nintendo to put Nintendo characters in a Nintendo game?
Because swords.
Because PlayStation All Stars was a flop.
Because swords.
Cause I saw that
because
too.
swords.
It was
swords.
like another first person or first party character. I'm like, what is there supposed to be? Like, I'm confused.
It's a Nintendo game. Like,
no, because they're swords and they're not Sora and they're not Dante.
But everybody did. I mean, there's people that's done the percentages. You know, that shows there's not that many sword characters.
Yeah,
Like,
there's less.
It's nuts. But can we give kudos to Nintendo for literally going out their way to get Xenoblade? Because that wasn't even supposed to happen. Because it was a part of a 3-game situation on the week.
Operation Rainfall.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they lifted this game up to at this point 3 games now, to where could be considered a highly acclaimed game for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Now,
if he wasn't doing well in Japan at the time before it started.
Wasn't.
So.
No.
Now, if y'all could go back and do that to Pandora's Box and
right.
Yeah, Pandora's Tower and the last story.
Last story. That's the one I want.
Pandora's Tower and Last Story. Go back and do that to both of those, and we might have something going here.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Last Story.
Since everybody in a remaking mood,
right?
I mean, might as well.
I mean, and really, I really, because if I'm gonna be 100% honest, I know I'm probably gonna catch hell for this. I actually liked Last Story more than I like Xenoblade Chronicles at first.
I'm right there with you.
I like Last Story more. Now, after going back and playing through Definitive Edition, I think it plays better now just because the Wii version was ugly. All right.
It was
ugly.
3DS was worse.
No, but it's still a testament to that system, though.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a huge game for that system.
Yeah. But I always liked Last Story. I don't know. It was something about Last Story, and then the way that story ended up, I'm like, yeah, bro, this is wild. So I've never understood why they didn't do anything with that. I mean, since we in the remaking mood, you know,
it might be because of they're looking at the ability to be a franchise,
right?
And say what you will about Xenoblade, but Rex, Power, and Mythra are immediate recognizable characters, whether they're overly sexualized or not. Same with Shulk. Like just the fact the way he carries the Monado period, and it's just recognizable.
Right.
Through official channels, they are not overly sexualized. It's just through fan channels that they are.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's with anything.
I mean, you can root 34 or anything at this point.
I'm gonna bring this up, and I'm probably gonna catch hell for saying this, but when a lot of the character art for a lot of the core crystals came out, a lot of people were upset about it. They assumed that it was men drawing all this, and once again, Japan does not care about your hang-ups.
No.
A lot of those artists are women, so
a good deal of them. Yeah,
a good deal of them. So I know, and I'm already seeing it in the comments right now. That doesn't mean anything. Yes, it does. Because people keep bringing it up. People keep bringing it up and assuming that men are doing this. So yes, it does matter.
They also made very suggestive male designs too.
Yeah, they did.
Like literal
goes
loincloth.
both ways. Like but the problem is people only talk about the females. They don't talk about there's a lot of, and then on top of that, like with every Xenoblade game, you can get in swimsuits. Shadow, you were wrong for what you used to do on Xenoblade Chronicles X. But, I mean, they have the swimsuit option on every game.
Right.
So it's not like it's something that, has not ever been done. It's always been there. And once again, Japan does not have these same hang-ups that the West does, and they tend to not care. That's one of the main reasons why, Extreme Beach Volleyball was over the top. But people tend to forget that Koei Tecmo didn't ask to put those swimsuits in there. That came from Hugo Boss, Chanel, Prada, Guess. They were sending designs to them. And most of those swimsuits were stuff that you can wear that were being advertised. So that's why Koei Tecmo we ain't bringing the third one to the West, because to the States, to North America, because all y'all do is complain, and it ain't our fault. They asked us to put their stuff in there.
It is hypocritical anyway. Just watch a music video here.
Basically. So I mean, that's one of those situations where DOA, the extreme volleyball, I thought it was funny because especially the story behind it with the way they did it. But people were getting angry saying it was sexualizing women. But like what they weren't doing was they weren't going at any of these companies for wanting their swimsuit designs in the game
because they don't know who to go at. I tell anybody if you look at how most things get pinpointed, whoever is up front talking, that's who's going to get hit. Because if you look at Sony, there's somebody to attack. If you look at Nintendo, there's somebody to attack. If you look at Microsoft, there's somebody to attack. So if you look at these bigger companies, most people don't even know who they own. I mean, who owns them or who's the face of that company. So they just kind of sit back and be quiet.
Yep, that's true. And that being said, Nintendo, man, y'all forget about Zelda 35th anniversary. And the reason why I say that is because so last week a lot of people in the gaming industry was like sending Zelda low because that's actually the week that Zelda turned 35 in Japan. I think in the States it's going to be this summer.
Right.
I think so, like June or July. I think it turns 35 in the States. But it was actually last week. And so you see like a lot of outpouring from Microsoft, Sony, EA actually did send a thing out.
That was
surprised me. Nuts.
Surprised the hell out of me. But a lot of game companies, especially, they sent out their love, but Nintendo didn't say anything, and I was like, why in the world are they not saying? Then I thought about it. I'm like, oh, because the 35th anniversary for Mario doesn't end until March.
Yeah, they're waiting until Mario's over with.
Waiting until March, but I just thought it was funny, so that's why I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah,
I'm
just think about what else they're stepping on too, because the Super Nintendo launched 30 years ago this year. So you have the anniversary of F-Zero, Pilot Wings, all kind of other launch games, UN Squadron. Pretty much all of those games started this year. And Nintendo's kind of like, they're not going to recognize those either, especially F-Zero, because F-Zero, I mean, they're like, hey, look, we tried to sell this to you and y'all didn't want to buy it. So
don't complain now.
Be lucky you have Metroid. That's kind of where they're.
I mean, plus they also said with F-Zero, I mean, they said they didn't want to bring it back unless they had new ideas. And honestly, I mean, if you don't have anything new, why bring it back? But I know, Dre, I know. But it's just one of those things that I agree. If you don't have anything, why bring it back just for people to shit on it?
Well, that and the fact that I think that was one of two things. And I think Miyamoto was being nice when he said they don't have ideas. Right. I think the other part was the other part was y'all don't buy this.
Right.
That was the truth of it. People don't buy it.
Y'all don't buy it. And then the ideas that they do have, once they saw other racers use those ideas and they didn't sell as well, they're probably like, well, maybe we should scrap it, because I'm pretty sure they did the whole drafting to get a boost kind of thing. And the only thing they could probably do now is do a rec mode, kind of like Burnout did. But is that something that they really want to do?
That would be cool at F-Zero though.
To do a rec mode, just to see how much damage.
All the things you could destroy in an F-Zero game by flying off of a track into something.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Good point.
But I do understand why. I understand from the standpoint of them not making really much of anything off the series. Right. And then even when GX came out, so many people complained about that game, even though it was a great game. People complained that it was too hard. I'm like,
I don't understand how it wasn't making money, because in the arcades you could never get a chance to play. It was always packed in any of the arcades that it was around here. And granted, it was rare because not too many arcades bought them at the time. But whoever had them, it was a line. Like
if there was two arcade F-Zero cabinets, you weren't getting on them.
No, not at all.
You weren't getting on them.
But I mean, as far as Zelda though, as far as the anniversary, you're right. I mean, Mario still has his time that it has going on, which we'll hear about pretty soon, because everybody that had the opportunity to buy 3D All-Stars are going to bitch about the fact that it's gone March 31st. But they don't complain about limited systems when they go away. But, it is what it is. But, I'm pretty sure they're going to do a big blowout for Zelda. I'm curious as to how they're going to do it, because there's rumors that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker are coming to Switch like they did for the Wii U. So I'm kind of curious.
I heard about that and Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time.
Right. Yeah.
More than likely.
I heard about all four of them.
I mean, well, those are the four games that most recently got remade, because you had Twilight Princess and Wind Waker for the Wii U,
right?
And Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask were done on
3DS.
3DS. You literally just have to port the 3DS games and take away the touchscreen
But
features.
do you do that though, or do you put some effort to it and make it look nice?
Well, Ocarina
I mean, yeah, you
and
can clean
Majora's,
it up.
You got to clean it up. Yeah, you got to clean it up a little bit.
Because
I mean, but
you
it
do
should
have
be,
to clean it up.
it should be a little bit easier to do though, coming from 3DS, because the 3DS, I mean, it had limited shaders, but it had shaders.
Right.
In the graphics core that it had is kind of similar to what the iPhone 4 had. So it would probably have been easier as a 3D game to bring forward versus, say, the original N64 code, where you have to basically dump and recompile everything. But I would imagine them going from 3DS would probably be a little bit of an easier translation than. But it depends on what Nintendo wants to do, because their Nintendo core isn't doing this anyway. So it's going to depend on what their vision is. Like, hey, we want this to be as code compliant as possible, and then y'all add whatever y'all add after that. But we want this, first of all, to be rock solid and run as expected, just like the original N64 code, and then do what you want to do after that.
Which obviously means 8K 120 frames per second.
Oh, but of course, because anything else less than that is unplayable, apparently, as you can see by the wealth of old consoles behind me.
It's going to hurt your
and
eyes.
And the pickups of old games that I just bought this week.
Make you dizzy at 20 frames per second. Jesus
H. Christ. That being
I
said,
never played any of those old games. Never.
That being said, Anthem 2.0 finally gets canceled. And BioWare is now too focused on Dragon's Age and Mass Effect. What went wrong?
Wait, weren't we just talking about 22 frames per second? Weird.
Yeah.
Right.
That game. Ooh, that game was horrible.
But the thing is, when it was shown, I didn't see the appeal. Like, everybody was so hyped because they saw people saw you flying around in suits, and it looked real pretty. Eye candy is not gonna always get you. Like, for me, I'm past the eye candy stage. You need to show me what's going to go on. And then when they said it was pretty much like a Destiny clone, you lost me.
See, the concept was there, but their execution was oof.
They said, we see Monolith. Let's try to do what they're doing. And
failed.
They
That's
did
not because I think it could have worked if they would have did their own thing. But it's EA, man.
Right.
I like BioWare. I don't like EA.
Yeah.
So
and they used to have smart people there. These are the same people that did Desert Strike. Like,
they left. The smart people left. Like Raymond Zucker and the other guy, they left. So I'm like, a lot of stuff with BioWare, I'm like, is gonna be messed up for the time being, because the original people at BioWare, just like at Rareware, they're not there anymore. Oh. They're just not there. So
and these new people coming in, they're like, where's all our object oriented stuff? We don't want to do any machine code at all. Just give us the easy port. Will it compile for us? Oh, it won't compile for us. Oh, let's blame the hardware. It's too weak.
Should BioWare drop the wear and just be Bio?
Basically, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, this is a shell of itself.
We are people. We pressed compile and it didn't work. The hardware is too weak. You can't.
Yeah.
We pressed export in Game Maker and it didn't go. We don't.
This is called a company Bio.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
And at this point, yeah. I mean,
this is what drives me to drink.
But yeah, I'm not gonna be too harsh on Anthem, just because I thought they had a pretty good idea. I just like you said, Jack. I think when the only thing you're gonna talk about is graphics, and I see that gameplay, and I'm not intrigued, but you keep talking about graphics, and then on top of that, you do an hour-long showcase, and I barely see any gameplay.
Right.
And it was a service on top of that.
Yeah, it wasn't.
There was
a
no
game.
That's the only other problem. Yeah, if you're gonna do something like that, it needs to be a MMO through and through. Like, just
and on top of that game ran horribly on every platform it was
on.
You couldn't even blame. You couldn't even say it was the console power, because it ran horrible on PC. I remember friends of mine was like, "Man, this game sucked." That's why they went from 59 to 15 in a matter of 6 months.
Oh yeah, it dropped fast.
Hold on, Jay. Are you saying that if a game runs bad, you can't just immediately go and say it's the fault of the hardware?
No, you can't.
Hey.
So people that coded that game, they might be somewhat responsible, kind of like the whole Cyberpunk situation. I don't know.
All I'm gonna say is anonymous senior engineer from EA sucks.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Bob Summerwill. I don't know.
yeah. Okay, so while we're on the subject of hardware, Fox, I'm gonna need you to stop engaging these Switch Pro leakers because you're making them keep leak out new information. Please stop.
They hurt me in the face so much, and I'm like, it's never gonna be enough of them. It's never gonna be enough.
No.
They're gonna 2016 is gonna be the year. 2017 is gonna be the year. Since the Switch is launching in 2017, they held it back because a Pro model's coming. 2018, nothing. 2019, see, there's a Switch Lite, so that means the Switch Pro is coming.
Nope.
No, it's just gonna give you one with better battery life. And then they did, and they're like, no, there's still a Pro. I don't.
So it's like
no.
It's a different Switch Pro rumor like every other week.
Every other week.
And the bad thing about it is it's not just like YouTubers and influencers trying to do it. You got the Washington Post doing this shit now. I'm like, dude.
And he's like, someone familiar with the matter. And I'm like, so let me get this straight. Just because you're a correspondent for the Washington Post, you have a Japanese name, and you just say people familiar with the matter, and you don't even say you talked to them or for how long and what y'all talked about and who the person is. You don't have to name them. Just say where they work.
Right.
Yeah.
And or give
we're just supposed to take
vague reference to where they work if you don't want to give the name.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this Miyazaki, I think this is his name or whatever, for 3 years now, supposedly. Yeah. There's supposed to have been one coming at the end of the year, every single year from 2018 until now.
And here's the funny thing about it. Like, next year's 2022. That's usually the end of Nintendo cycle anyway.
Yes, that's so time for Switch to be done.
They keep saying this, and I'm sitting there like, y'all go next year if Nintendo says, okay, we're getting ready to release X, Y,
See,
Z.
I told you. I told you it was coming. I told you it was coming.
No, dude.
Here's the kicker to this. People want to Switch Pro so bad, and Shadow, we've both been on conversations with people back and forth with this. Everybody wants to still call the Switch 8th gen.
Right.
So if a Switch Pro comes out and it extends the generation for the Switch,
it's still 8th generation to them. To those people. It's a Pro, so it's still 8th gen. It's an extension of the Wii U, which was an extension. But whatever.
And also, because all the reports coming out, how is Nintendo winning with last gen hardware?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Let me get the thought. Let me get the thought fully together here. Nintendo's winning with last gen hardware, right? Okay. They're currently winning with last gen hardware. So they could, if they're beating you with quote unquote inferior hardware with shitty specs, what do you think is going to happen when they have better hardware?
Because, and the funny part is, I don't know why they're surprised. This already happened in the 7th generation.
Right.
It happened in the 6th gen.
They refuse to acknowledge it, but it happened in the 7th generation.
It happened in the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th gen. If anyone paid any attention.
Yeah, it did. I mean, right when Iwata took over, they only had one bad system, and that was Wii U. Everything else netted them a profit. Even the GameCube.
Even the GameCube.
GameCube got a profit because the attach ratio was stupid. It was like 9-1 by the end of the generation. Like,
with possibly the best controller for
still being
produced. Yeah, ain't nobody out here reproducing N64 controllers.
Nah. But that GameCube controller, it's just something about that GameCube controller.
It was great for adventure games. I'm not even gonna lie.
And fighters.
Yeah.
I just got through playing the project. What's the Project Triangle, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I played that with his Wavebird. It works. It connects. I'm playing with it.
I mean, you mean Project Game of Thrones?
Yes, Project Game of Thrones.
They killing mugs left and right in that game.
Nothing right.
Behead you in front of everyone. You gotta go. You gotta go.
I'm waiting for Tywin Lannister to show up. I'm like, Jesus, dude.
Winter is coming, my
But yeah, I give Shadow and Dre, I give y'all props for going back and forth with these people on the Pro.
Oh no, I stopped.
Because Shadow keeps going, and I'm like, stop, because the main guy we all know who we're all referencing to, he keeps going with this generation thing, and I'm just scrolling, and I'm like, again? I never see him post anything else, but when I see his picture or whatever you want to call it, I know what it's about. I already know what time it is. I'm like, dude, stop. It's like, it makes no sense to me, because even by his standards, like you said, if a Switch Pro comes out, does that then in turn go into the 9th gen? So then, like, but they play the same games. I'm confused.
Because if a Switch Pro comes out, logically, that means the Switch is still going to play all those same games.
Yeah,
right, but
so,
to him, it'll be 8th gen, and the Pro will be a 9th with the same name.
Yeah.
I just want Wii U just to fit inside the Switch, because if they're the same generation, I want to see. Can we put that disc in there?
I want to see Switch games play on the Wii U. If
Yeah.
they're the same generation.
Yeah.
I want to see the Joy-Cons work with the Wii U if they're the same generation.
Yeah.
I want to see the Switch itself work with the Wii U if they're the same generation.
And then for those that say that they quit the Wii U early, no, they did not. It
No,
made it to the typical
way
life
through.
cycle,
Yeah.
all the way
It,
through.
what?
Tokyo
went
Mirage
4.5
Sessions
years.
launched in 2017.
Like it went from 2012 to 2017.
2016. Sorry.
2012 to 2017 is
Yep.
5
Yeah.
years.
Right.
Yeah.
2017 to 2022, 5 years. The only one that ever went more than 5 years was Wii, and that was 6 years.
Right.
No,
And that's because
Breath
everybody
Breath of the Wild was a launch game for the Switch. It was also the swan song for Wii U.
Yeah,
Right.
It was a Wii U game.
it was a Wii U
Right.
game. They got ported. The Switch does not have a Legend of Zelda, a true up Legend of Zelda game from EAD.
It will for Breath of the Wild too.
Yeah, and that's going to
Oh.
be at the end of and that's more than likely, if it doesn't come out this year, it's going to come out next year, which
Right.
I hope it doesn't, because if that's the case, that means it's going to cannibalize Metroid, which is going to piss me off, because we already know how loud some Metroid people are.
With it restarting, though, I'm thinking Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a launch game.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking.
At this point, yeah, they're probably going to have to do it like that. And
Because they're not going to have another Zelda ready.
Yeah,
No.
and the other thing too is it's probably gonna be like it was with Switch when they had Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey releasing. Most times Nintendo does not release Mario and Zelda in the same year.
Right.
Most
Oh,
times.
they did for Switch. Oh,
Yeah, they
God.
did.
And it
They
was
were
Switch was stupid. Xenoblade, Mario, and
They were-
Zelda the same.
They were like,
year?
okay, basically, old boy was just shooting birds at everybody in gaming journalism. Okay, I'm gonna drop Zelda, I'm gonna drop Splatoon, I'm gonna drop Arms, I'm gonna drop Mario, I'm gonna
Forgot
drop
about Splatoon 2.
Like
Jesus.
say something I don't like. Say something I don't like. I'll drop another
Splatoon
game.
2, wasn't that a port from what other people say that don't play the damn game?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah,
headaches.
I was sitting there. It was like every time I saw a negative article about Zelda, about Switch, 2 more games got released.
And you keep seeing the sales numbers, and they just keep going up and up and up.
Yeah. But it was like, okay, say something I don't like. Say something, I'll drop 2 more games on you. Oh, you gonna try me? We gonna die? It's gonna go out. All right, drop 2 more.
It hurts so bad. Every time you log into your Switch, it's like there's another game sale, and you're like, but I like physical games. I really like them. And it's a cartridge, I can take it. I don't need to be on the internet, and you're gonna sell me these games. I got to be signed in to play. I don't want to, but they're cheap. Oh, it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts so bad.
Yeah, so I just thought that was funny. But and that being said, we got to have a moment of silence for our PlayStation fans.
I thought you were gonna say a moment of silence for the Switch Pro, but you
No. This is about PlayStation. Yeah, as y'all know, we are going into the PlayStation Direct at the end of this podcast, but I wanted to bring up. I understand y'all pain, man, for real. I understand that y'all are mad that the PC side will be getting y'all exclusive games, even though that brings the game to a wider audience, which means more money, which means y'all will be able to get more sequels. But still, I understand why y'all mad.
I don't.
It hurts because Microsoft does it and it doesn't affect them. They don't care. They're
Well,
like, we don't care who plays our games.
Microsoft is PC.
Yeah,
much.
but Sony is like, oh, they're not selling as well at all. So I guess go to PC a little bit, and Switch is selling well. Let's send baseball over there, and I don't they're hurting so bad. They're bleeding so much money.
Look, Shadow, me, you, and Dre, we talked about this back with Gamers at Large. when Sony started shutting down all those, shutting down most of their different businesses, we knew this was going to happen. This kind of happened with the PS2. They don't have any true exclusives anymore.
Right.
Sony at one time had Spyro, Crash, Sly. They had Jak and Daxter. They had
Kingdom Hearts too.
Yeah, they had Kingdom Hearts. All of Square Enix was strictly exclusive to them.
Yeah. Toshinden, Wipeout.
Yeah, all of it. And they let all of that go to try and keep up with Microsoft, which by money standards you can't do.
Nah,
hold on. And before then, it wasn't Square Enix. They had both Square and whole lot.
Yeah, both of them. And yeah, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is PS1 and PS2. If you want to know why PS2 ran buckshot over six gen, it was because of all of them damn exclusives. They had more. They had actually more exclusives than Nintendo did.
Oh yeah, and lost the PS2 had. Let's say it again. Inferior hardware.
Yep, sure did.
It damn sure did.
Yep.
But it had them games though.
It did, and because I'll go even one further. Okay, Soul Calibur 2 releases on all 3 systems. Tell me why the weaker GameCube outsold all of them by what it was 2-1?
Oh yeah, because everybody want Link all day.
Link sold that game.
But Soul Calibur 3 doesn't come to GameCube. We don't get a Soul Calibur 4. We get Soul Calibur Legends on Wii, which I understand why. I'm not tripping about that. I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
That was industry stuff though too at the time.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, not one Soul Calibur has came back to a Nintendo console. But if you ever brought it back, Namco Bandai, you know what's gonna happen, right? If you throw one person on there, if you throw one more person on there, you know which two I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to outsell everybody else's.
Yes,
I'm willing to put money on that.
And if they decided to go for the full Triforce,
they could
especially if they do Queen Zelda from Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
Just think about this. You have a first party fighting game from Nintendo as a franchise, which is outsold every single other third party fighting game that has existed on multiple platforms. Street Fighter 4 runs on just about everything but Nintendo hardware except for the 3DS. Yep. And please tell me why Smash Bros. For Wii U outsold that. It doesn't make any sense. One platform is outselling something that's available across every other system.
And PC.
Yes, in the same genre. And technically is not really a fighting game if you listen to what Nintendo says.
Right.
So
well, of course, Sakurai, I love you because you were the main one that did this. I'm glad you brought up that. Well, I'm not supposed to be counting frames. I love you for trolling. Damn, I love you for trolling. Because really, if we're being completely honest, just like I said a couple months ago, does anybody think Mario Kart is a real simulation racer?
Of course not. No, that's why it runs at 59.9 frames per second.
Yeah, according to Digital Foundry.
And that's why they said that they could see that difference with the naked eye and couldn't play the game because it was so horrible.
Oh, clearly.
So if Mario Kart is not a simulation racer, why are you acting like freaking Smash Bros. Is a simulation fighter? It's not. They're both party games. They're the literal party games. Now, to Smash Bros. Credit, the way Sakurai and that team have made Smash Brothers, you can play it any kind of way you want to.
Right, exactly.
You can turn that thing into Street Fighter if you wanted to.
Right.
Boy, I know Capcom feels stupid. But because if you put Ken and Ryu on there, you can turn that into a Street Fighter match.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or Ken and Ryu, or Ken and Terry, or Ryu and Terry.
Yeah.
Mario and Luigi. I should do that one time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. I mean, what you could do.
But or you could just say the hell with it and you do 8 people on Big Blue.
Yes.
Just watch the carnage.
Items everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
You can't tell what's going on, but the game ain't running at 60 frames a second.
Right.
Okay. So, but I digress. PlayStation gamers, I understand y'all pain. I understand why y'all mad. I think y'all stupid for being mad. But yeah,
right. There you go. Because I was about to say, I was like, I don't understand it. But
unfortunately,
they should still be mad because that state of play.
Yeah, they should be pissed about the state of play. Because I mean, you bought this console in November, and you still really don't know what you're getting for after this 500 and all this oh, well, my game played 2 frames higher than the Xbox, so my PlayStation is winning. Neither one of y'all got anything to play for it. So, I mean, really, but I mean, to kind of harp on PlayStation in general, like, this is probably just me, like, looking from the outside in with everything. If you look at, let's say, a game like Uncharted 4, to where you talk about how much Sony spends on these AAA games, where they're pretty much spending movie budgets, but then you're telling me there's not a single Sony game, Sony exclusive, that sold anywhere near what Nintendo's top game has sold, then that means to me you're not getting a big return like you should be getting. So if you're looking for Sony to keep doing this realistic movie type situation and you're not going to go purchase it when there's 100 million plus consoles sold and there's only maybe like 10, 15 million of those exclusives sold, something's wrong at that point. And like I said before on the last podcast we did, there's no reason for God of War 2018 to drop as bad as it did in price. If you tell me that most Sony exclusives get their 3 or 4 million up front, so that means about 3 or 4 million get hit at that 60, but then the remainders are probably around $40-$30 if not included in bundles, then they're not getting the proper return they should be getting, and I feel like they're devaluing the brand at that point.
Yeah, which they are. Which the funny thing about it is Sony still has their movie division. So if that's the case, like you need to stop pumping the money into the games and start pumping the money into the if you're gonna make a movie on it.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna make more money on the movie, not on the game.
Right.
Just are. I mean, look, everybody loves Tom Holland. That Uncharted movie is probably gonna be good. I'm just gonna say that right now. Yeah. People are gonna come see it just because Spider-Man's in it.
Right.
I mean, just because everybody loves Tom Holland right now. He ain't that bad of an actor. I still hate Cherry, but you know that's just it is what it is. So I understand why y'all pissed, but you really shouldn't be pissed because this is how you get your sequels to your favorite games. And if they have to go this route to do that, now Nintendo doesn't have to do that. Because they're not going to do that because Yamamuchi would get out the grave and kill every last one of us. So
real quick, as an anecdote. So we talking about these big budget, games and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at stuff like Black Panther and Avengers and whatnot. They're making billions of dollars or whatever they're considered successful movies, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Animal Crossing made $1.8 billion in 9 months. $1.8 billion.
Why are you bringing up that raccoon, man? That little raccoon.
Biggest hustle on the block.
Baby. I am shocked that Nintendo was able to print that many copies. Because I was thinking that because the Animal Crossing amiibo for Amiibo Festival and whatever on Wii U didn't really do that good. So I think they were like adjusted for that, and they're saying, hey, look, these amiibo aren't selling that well. Then we probably shouldn't push out that many cartridges for the game. Somebody, I guess, was extremely optimistic, and they're like, push them through. Yep. And here we sit, 30 million sold in less than a year.
I think the other thing that helped out Animal Crossing a lot was the pandemic, because that's what everybody was playing. I'm like, I'm not an Animal Crossing head like that, but the way they keep pumping out content for it, people are just like, I want to see what's coming next. I want to see what's coming next.
Man, look, Animal Crossing has been the everything game for people.
Yeah.
People been using Animal Crossing to go out on dates, to hold concerts, to do competitions.
They were doing live interviews with Animal Crossing. I'm like, what the hell? Like, so
that game took over the world as everybody's way to connect.
Yep.
When people couldn't physically be around each other.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Tom Nook is like, okay, Sakurai, when am I getting in Smash? Tom Nook with that money, boy. Tom Nook, now you think Mickey Mouse is a hustler?
His kids are even worse. They got all the checks now. Straight hustle. You want a warp pipe? You got to come see us.
Right. Don't worry, that interest will be multiplied.
I mean, you look at it though. I mean, you think about how much it took them to make Animal Crossing compared to, let's say, Miles Morales. Yep. And then you see this big of a return compared to what Miles Morales sold. That's a night and day difference.
Yes.
It's a reason why they're going to PC. Because
how is that sustainable?
Right.
And even on PC, they're not
going to make them.
Somebody find me a PC chart where the PC game recently is sold over. Is there any PC game that sold over?
That argument. Saw that argument you did too with that. Well, Jesus.
Fox, you brought up something. You brought up something very important. It's the funny thing about it is if you keep going the route of, okay, we're gonna pump 200, $300 million into this game, and you still don't sell what you need to sell to get it back. Like I said, I've said this before. I will say it again. At no point should a video game cost as much as a movie to make.
No,
There,
not even close.
video game, as much as gaming has evolved and become more mainstream, it's still niche. We got people on podcasts claiming that if you game, you're less than. This is still happening in 2021.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think that gaming is just it's not as popular as you think it is, and if you are pumping this much money into it, you're not going to make. There's a reason why you can make Infinity War for $225 million, because when you make that 2.9 billion, all you really got to make is 700 million, and you're good.
That first night.
Yeah, they made that back their first night. I think the thing is, though, the biggest problem isn't even that Sony isn't selling enough copies of their games. Is what Jackson brought up, is that they're dropping the value of it before they really hit a stride.
Yeah. Spider-Man was $20 in less than a year. Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's that was their best-selling game at one point. So,
I mean, people get mad about Nintendo not dropping their price, but I'm like our good friend Miss K always says, gaming is an expensive hobby. If you can't pay for these games, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They know their value. They know their value. It was at that one, like, I didn't even understand how games could be over $100 at one point in time until I saw Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in the pawn shop for $150. But I mean, you look at something like 2K. As much as I can bash 2K all day, they know for a fact we can drop a $70 version and a $100 version, and everybody's going to go to the $100 version because they want to hurry up and jump on the court as soon as possible to spend more money. Mm-hmm. They're not going to drop it at a lower price just because you want to enter in. It pay to play.
I don't know if I verbalize this. I normally say this on Twitter here and there, but I think I need to express why it was okay for games to be that expensive during one time or one certain generation versus now. Mm-hmm. Technically, if you think about it, games were way more expensive to make back then than they are now. Even though, hey, things were a little bit cheaper as far as cost of building materials and stuff like that back then, because cost of everything has gone up now. But back then, for you to build a game, you need a studio, and with a studio, you need workstations. We're talking workstations back then wasn't buying a $2,000 PC with a good graphics card in it. Nah. It was $30K. And that's without the SDK and everything that you got from the developer and everything. And you get the SDK from them, and it's barely nothing. You still have to write everything from scratch, and you need to add microcode, and you got to do all this work. So you need a team of talented people that you need to be able to pay 24/7 to be able to work on this game, to build from scratch, because you don't have a dedicated engine like you have now. You don't have Game Maker where you can just drop assets in and move stuff around. You were writing stuff from scratch. Right. And then on top of that, you had to overly optimize stuff because your end product was going on a cartridge that was less than 4 megabytes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted a cartridge that was 8 megabytes or more, you had to pay for that out of your pocket to add that extra ROM onto the cartridge. So that meant your game, either one way or the other, either your development house ate the cost, or now this is a $90-$100 game. So I get it, and I understand why back then SNK games were so expensive. Some Super Nintendo cards and some N64 cards are way up there like that, because if you're talking, hey, you're going from carts, original launch carts on the Super Nintendo, only being like 8 meg to now they're 32, 50, 96 megs, what have you now. That's a big price difference versus now where you got games now. I'm looking at a game now, Kena or whatever, was technically built by 2 people. They got a team of 15 people or whatever for the PlayStation 5. Somebody made a big point about that or whatever earlier. So 15 people made this game total. Technically, Sony paid to outsource everything they needed for all the art and the graphics and whatnot. So they didn't even really have to do that. So it looks that good because they paid a team that technically does graphics for commercials and stuff like that to build all their art for them. And then they plug and play and build their game. And then they print it on a 100 gigabyte disc that still costs pennies for me and you to buy.
Right.
Mhm.
So how do you? Space isn't an issue. The game development tools, I mean, it's free for Unity. I think it may be $1,000 for Unreal Engine 4, and that's only if you want to unlock the code to add your own C++ to it.
Well, no,
So,
I was say because you can get Unreal Engine if you
it's
download
free.
Epic. If you
But
download
if you
Epic,
want
you
to
get
unlock
Unreal
it
Engine
and
for free.
add stuff to it, you got to pay for
Yeah.
a global license or whatever if you want to add to it to build. Kind of like how MK4 modified Unreal Engine 3 and Unreal Engine 4, they had to pay for that.
Yeah.
So if you want to do some extra stuff like that to add your own C++ to it, then you pay that extra. But otherwise, everything's free.
Right.
Everything's free. You could literally build a game. You could start your own studio without having to really have big input as far as like tools and whatnot. Maybe Nintendo, you have to pay for SDK or whatever. But once you know how all the tools work and everything, you don't have to buy another SDK.
Right.
And once you have a code base already, you just add on to that, and then you just change what your binary is going to be once you compile again. So it's these days now, it's literally copy and paste. There's almost nothing written original anymore. If there's a certain random number generator piece of code you want to put in, you can go to GitHub, it exists. Yeah. Versus back in the 80s and 90s, you were writing that trash.
Yeah.
So I can't. When I think about the duality of it, it's just weird to me that people will try to justify, hey, this game needs to be $70 or $100 now, and I'm like, wait, what? For a couple of extra pixels on screen when it's already a couple extra pixels on screen on my PC right here?
Right.
Well, another thing too, we gotta remember that this whole microtransaction DLC thing that happened mid 7th gen,
price already been increasing.
Yeah, so the price already been increased because if you buy the perfect example, Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out. There is a $59 version, but there's a $79 version, and there's also $129, I think, for the full thing. So you got people buying the 79 and the 129 version. I mean, everybody ain't buying the 59 version. I bought the $59 version because I knew better. But I mean, that's another thing too. And we got people, once again, EA back in, what was it, 2015? Mm-hmm. Was when they bragged about making like $1 billion off of microtransactions.
Oh yeah. That's not something you brag about.
They bragged about it. They bragged about it, and Germany put a lawsuit on them.
Yep.
I'm like, What'd you get for bragging? But before we get into the actual directs, there's one more thing I want to talk about before we go there, and that's because, as you guys know, if you pay attention to the channel, I do fresh take reviews of different TV shows. Well, we're finally getting Halo again, but this time coming to Paramount Plus.
So where did this come from? Because it just seemed like overnight. I saw Paramount Plus pop up, like especially when the Rugrats stuff popped up.
It's CBS, yes.
Okay,
so basically, instead of All Access, well, I think
the CBS partnered with Paramount.
Yeah, they partnered with Paramount. Now it's Paramount
because they mad at HBO. You know how they go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I'm about to say the first time I saw it pop up was with Rugrats. And then I'm like, okay, now everything's doing from Mission Impossible to Quiet Place 2, and I'm like, okay.
Well, the funny thing about it is, remember, Halo was supposed to have a series from Steven Spielberg hit the Xbox console as their main thing. Now, they did that Nightfall, which was not bad.
That was actually pretty good.
It was not bad, but they did need an infusion of money for them last 3 episodes, but that's neither here nor there. It's actually not bad. It's a 5-part series starring Luke Cage. And but it wasn't.
I mean, he's in Halo 5, so that's.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole point. It was kind of like trying to get people ready for Halo 5, and then they I guess Microsoft did not understand the power of people being pissed at you of diversity. So, but I actually don't mind this if they're going to do what Disney's doing with Marvel and Star Wars and injected some cash to it. Because if you watch WandaVision, if you watch The Mandalorian, the reason why those are good is because they actually put the money where their mouth is.
Right.
So Halo, if you want to do live action, and I've said this before, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna cost. It ain't gonna be cheap. It is not gonna be cheap. So which means you're not doing 22 episodes. You're probably doing like 5 or 6.
Right.
Yep.
Because they did an interview with Feige last week, and they was asking why is Falcon and Winter Soldier only 6 episodes as opposed to the 9 that WandaVision got. He's like, he basically, in not so many words, he basically like, do you know how much these damn shows cost?
Like, that's industrial light and magic, man. They're not cheap.
They ain't cheap.
Skywalker Ranch is putting stuff together. Action scenes.
Yeah.
Action scenes cost a lot more money.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, they found ways around that with how they doing the AR stuff with Star Wars. By the way, if you do have Disney Plus, you might want to check out the gallery. That's very interesting to see how they shoot Mandalorian.
Yep,
it's very interesting to me because you would think that their own location, they are not most of the time.
Hello, Georgia.
Hello, Georgia. You'll notice that Atlanta looks nothing like a desert.
Right.
Just want you to know that. So Atlanta looks nothing like Tatooine. There's no parts of Atlanta. You ain't gonna go to East Point and you think you're in Tatooine. That's not gonna happen. So, I mean, well, if you go to Five Points,
they made Wakanda fit in there. So
yeah,
right.
I mean, they did make Wakanda fit in there for the most part. So there's that. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. I don't want to know if you guys think that this could actually work this time around. Because Nightfall, for all intents and purposes, it didn't work. But I think one of the main reasons why it didn't work was because, one, they miscalculated with the whole diversity thing. And right. two, the other thing is, those last 3 episodes, you could tell they ran out of money.
Who did the animation, the Pillar of Autumn?
That was Shinji Aramaki and John Woo's studio.
I think if they take whoever their screenwriter is for that, and apply that to live action, that would probably work pretty well, I think. As long as they stay true to the scenes, add CGI where you need it and whatnot. But I really think you gotta build a Warthog though. You gotta build one.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they'll probably build like some of the land stuff, but like the space, you gotta have space battles because ain't nobody trying to see no sci-fi stuff like Halo without no space battles. You're gonna like, nah, dude, you gotta have to go to space. And Halo Legends killed it for you because people gonna be like, I want my space battles.
Yep.
Yeah, and they like Halo 4 just didn't. They tried, and I get it. You gotta have it because how are you not an interplanetary threat if people aren't leaving planets because they're afraid of you?
Yeah,
and so they had to add that in there where like, hey, we're leaving this planet because of this threat or whatever, and so you go somewhere else to find out what's really going on. And then they made it bad. So I don't. If they made the game part of that bad, then we already know that you trying to implement that. You're gonna put a sour taste in people's mouth when you try to reintroduce that in film. So they're gonna have to make it really interesting. I mean, it worked for Aliens. So at some point you got to figure out a way to balance it, to hook the audience and get them to unsee the badness of Halo 4.
Right.
That part particular, everything else was great because it was more like basically Metroid Prime at some point, but they had to, do the "you're leaving Earth" type situation, and people didn't like that. So, go figure.
Makes sense. Andre, Jack,
don't have a whole lot to say on this. I'm pretty much in agreement. So,
I was about to say, as far as Halo, I think it is something that could be very interesting, as far as like a TV series. Like you can flip it in so many different ways, especially when I've seen bad ideas turn into good shows. Halo has a lot sitting there, and I know there's a lot of lore with Halo that I know I don't delve heavy into. So I mean, it'll be something new for me. I'm not a big Halo guy, man. I beat 1, 2, and 3, and I kind of went off from there. Like I never, I played the other games like Halo Wars, but I never really, completed them. But I mean, honestly, for me, it give me something to watch and something that'd be very entertaining. Because kind of like The Mandalorian, I've never been a big fan of Star Wars by any means, but watching The Mandalorian, when you get past the first couple of episodes, it's something really worth watching. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with WandaVision. If it wasn't for you and your channel, Jay, I wouldn't have continued WandaVision. I would have stopped at episode 2.
I told people, I'm like, man,
just watch because
just watch it. They doing House of M. Just watch
I
it.
would have stopped right there. I'm like, what in the hell? But yeah, I would have stopped.
The hell you got me watching?
Right.
Yeah. And it all made sense in the end.
Yeah, it all makes sense. Yeah.
I got one take on that, and I think the other I really like Halo. I was really into the Halo lore because I played Halo before there was a Halo. I think that if they do that kind of stuff, if they go all the way back to appease some of those fans from earlier on, I think that will work. So if they go and try to do what Mandalorian is doing and start touching on some of the previous stuff, start talking about John Spartan and start talking about how the Rampant AIs from Marathon originally came over to start doing what was happening with the Forerunners before all the Halo stuff started, then I think that kind of mystique, because a lot of people, first of all, they never probably played those games, so they don't even know why the terminals are there in Halo. So I think a lot of that kind of mystique will grab people's attention and just start building up to the point where, hey, now you have Master Chief emerging towards the end of the first season or whatever, and there's a whole lot of why until you finally see him towards the end and it all makes sense. Then you could click and do all your action, whatever, blah 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 after that, because everybody's invested now. Right. So, and I think that will bring a lot of the sore Haloers back. The people that just said, hey, they're trying to make it like Call of Duty now, so maybe I should just go play Call of Duty. Those people, I think it probably will bring some of those people back to at least watch, maybe, and get invested in it. Will they go play the games again? I don't know, but they might enjoy the show, I think, for the story, because a lot of people like the Halo story.
The lore is good. The lore is actually really good.
And another good thing that they have is the resources. They have the novels.
Yes.
They start pulling stuff from the novels. There's so much stuff in those novels that you just will not see in the games at all.
Yeah,
and it would be a good idea for them to start pulling from that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, take a hint from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Use your universe. Just use your universe.
It would be smart, simultaneously, while that show is going on, have them both cross-advertise and do either a role-playing game or some type of action game that actually allows you to evolve into Cortana by the end of the game. And then you know how she got created and why, and what her true role was.
And why she always naked. All right, yeah. So that being said, segue. So we are to the directs. We're gonna start this off with Sony's State of Play. Okay. I thought this was all right. Look, I understand why people are pissed off. I do understand why people are pissed off, especially if you bought a PS5. We told y'all not to do that, but I understand. But it wasn't a bad direct to me, because my expectations are in check for all of these directs, all these digital events. My expectations are in check. I think a lot of people get themselves hyped up, and then when stuff don't happen the way they happen, they get mad. One thing I want to say to people: it is February. We still got 10 more months.
Even with that, somebody brought something to my attention. When has there ever been a good State of Play?
There's been a couple.
There's been a couple that have been okay.
Well, the one State of Play, they did the game-centric one, and that was Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
That was really
great.
But usually those are like your good ones when you do have at least that one thing, and I think that's typically what they do, and I think that's what Final Fantasy was supposed to be for this one. Yeah. But in regards to like the entirety of the show, I've never sat down and said, you know what, even 2 or 3 things out of the show was decent. But I mean, even for this one, Kena was definitely something I want to play. Sifu, and then Final Fantasy. But that's the thing. Like, if I take 2 or 3 things out of a direct, a State of Play, or an experience, whatever you want to call them, I'm cool. But if you're talking about from like a PS5 owner standpoint, this didn't give you anything, because everything you saw, you've already seen before.
Yeah. And the only thing that's actually coming to you directly is FF7 Remake Intergrade. And FF7 Remake is on PS4. So, but the Intergrade portion, the stuff with Yuffie and Vice and all them, that's gonna be for you guys. But everything else is coming between both of them. But we said this, Shadow, they should not have put these consoles out until
they weren't ready. They weren't ready, but they saw
Told you
Switch running away, and they were trying to stop it. And
which didn't help.
You can't stop what you if you don't have anything to stop it with.
Yeah.
Now,
now
E games.
Now for me, I like Sifu. I thought that was dope. I'm glad it's coming to PS4 because I didn't want to buy a PS5 for that because that looks dope. But the one that got me is Deathloop.
Yeah.
Every time I see that game, they get me with that damn blaxploitation soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
They get me with that 70s soundtrack. But it actually looks a little bit different than what they showed last year.
It does.
It does look like they evolved it a little bit better.
They're not doing the No Man's Sky thing where they show you the same trailer 6 times.
Yeah.
With the same people coming out talking about what you can do with it. Yeah. But that was the one that got me. But other than that, I thought it was just okay. It didn't kill me. I wasn't mad about it.
Nah, I mean, I'd never be pissed off at you presenting games to me.
Yeah.
But, as far as if you're trying to entice anybody to come in or if you're trying to entice anybody to stay, because we all know if you're not a true early adapter, they're going to sell those consoles quick. I've already seen people selling their consoles because they haven't used it in 2 weeks. So I already know what it is to be an early adopter. I've been an early adopter spawning back to Dreamcast. Mm-hmm. Whenever I was able to get some type of work money, I went and purchased a console. But for PS5 in general, and like you said, everything is coming to PS4, so that's great. Which, I mean, they said 2 or 3 years they're going to continue to support it. Mm-hmm. And that kind of brings up, Forbidden West and also God of War. Will that be the same situation?
Because
the
you got 100
so much though.
But if you got 100 plus, you got 100 plus consumer base. You can't ignore that when you know
out the way.
When you know that you don't have as many consoles out because you don't have as many consoles in production.
Right.
So there's no way they were going to be able to not just stop using PS4. I mean that just and they don't have a Game Pass situation like Microsoft does, so they can just say, "Hey, look, we know we got rid of Xbox One X and S, but we still got Game Pass. You can still play it."
Yeah.
So do you think Microsoft made Sony put their foot in their mouth on that then? Because they're just like, "Hey, look, you know what? Xbox One didn't do too well, but we'll just keep on making consoles and it's fine. And then you can play games on Windows or do whatever. Yeah. And we're putting a box out where there's gonna have to be a PS5, right? And now they're going to have to get rid of their 100 million user base or whatever and start from scratch. And that benefits us.
Well, the thing with Microsoft was they sunk all their eggs in the Game Pass because, as me and you know, Fox.
Yes, they don't care about Xbox.
Yeah, they were going to get rid of them. Stella was going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they dumped their eggs into Azure and Game Pass. Game Pass saved them, to be honest. Because, it wasn't looking good. And the Microsoft boss is like, "Oh, y'all ain't making money." You saw what they did to Nokia right after they bought them.
Oh yeah, dropped them quick.
Basically dismantled the hell out of it.
Oh yeah,
because they weren't in the green. They were in the red, and they stayed in the red for a month too long.
Yeah, and Microsoft's not with that because they saw what Ericsson did to Sony, so they're like, "No, we're not going to play that game."
No, we're not. So I look. It was what 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting E3, and that's another thing. People need to stop expecting that. So I thought it was okay.
They're hungry.
I was expecting Nintendo Direct 2013 though. I was expecting that because at least Wii U showed you Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that trailer alone was just like, I made the right choice by buying this system.
Yeah. But
and I'm still playing that game to this day.
But once again, I'm like, it's not an E3 type situation,
right?
And I don't blame any company for not showing my big guns if I'm saving them for E3 because I gotta have some ammunition for E3 and Tokyo Game Show.
Then that kind of goes back to holding back your console.
January 2013, I think.
Yeah,
right.
And then they showed a kind of a gameplay trailer during E3, but it was really that January one that set the tone, though.
Well, at E3 they showed that first Treehouse Live. That's what got everybody. That's what saved Nintendo on that was they were doing stuff that wasn't nobody else doing. That Treehouse Live. Treehouse Live
showed you the whole game.
Showed you the whole game with developers talking about it while they played it. So the game was working. You're seeing it live, and you're not seeing a cinematic. You're actually seeing gameplay, and they're explaining to you what's going on. So that's what kind of killed it. I understand where you're coming from, Shadow, But that's kind of a different situation.
Because Nintendo was doing it different. They're still doing it different now.
They're still doing it different, yeah.
Now, do y'all think they should have made that M2 expansion announcement during the State of Play? Because now it's supposed to be activated this summer, and that was something that people are looking forward to. Because that's why I buy the console to expand my memory. But I can't do it.
If it's not gonna come to this summer, I wouldn't even bring it up until E3. You wanna know why? Because if I bring it up a month before E3, because I think E3 they're still doing it for June. I'll bring it up in like April or May. I'll do another State of Play and bring it up then. I'm not gonna bring it up in February because all it's gonna do is piss everybody off.
Yeah, because they got to start getting the word out about what's compatible.
Yeah, and now
MSRP also. Yeah, because that's going to be the big factor.
Yeah, so I think it's probably smart on their side to not do that. Just say, okay, look, this is what we got. What they want to do is say, okay, this is some stuff you should be happy about.
Right.
And I understand that. Like I said, my expectations are always in check with these things because I done been through the whole Nintendo Direct equals E3 situation when it really wasn't supposed to be that.
Hell, it just happened.
Yeah.
Just happened.
Yeah. So, but see that happened for me back in 2015.
Yeah.
So I got out of that back then. A lot of people didn't though. So I mean, it is what it is, and I understand we're in February, going by the Gregorian calendar, which the world goes by. We still got 10 more months left in a year.
Now, do you guys think we need to? They need to do away with these altogether because now we're getting to that point of your expectations and how much you want to be fed is now kind of killing it. Because I think somebody made a good point of the hype and the announcements are kind of bigger than the actual release of the game. Because a lot of people love the news of it, but then you don't see the return with the purchasing of the game.
That's only with them though, so they just have to match what Nintendo's doing.
Yeah, I think the problem is you can't get rid of the Pandora's box is open.
Yeah,
true.
You can't you might have started something that can't be stopped.
True.
They just have to do it right. They got to match what they're doing.
And once again, it's not Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, or PC, or EA, or Ubisoft's issue if the individual hypes themselves up.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because most of the time, I got into an argument with somebody because one E3, Nintendo said they were just going to talk about 2018 when Nintendo said they were just going to talk about Smash.
Yep.
I got into an argument with somebody because they were like, they didn't bring up Bayonetta, they didn't bring up Metroid, and I'm like, they didn't tell you they were going to bring that up. They told you they were going. You know, that person told me I need to shut up and stay off because we trying to get them to do right by the fans. I'm like, time out. If I tell you I'm coming to see you, you cannot then turn around and get mad at me because I didn't bring your friend. I told you I was coming to see you. So you got mad at Nintendo for not bringing these other two things when they told you, hey, we not bringing that. We telling you what we're going to bring.
That's usually how it happens. They tell you what's going to happen, and then people get pissed that they didn't give them what they were looking for.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, like, it's not the company's issue that the individual hypes themselves up. That's why you have to keep your individual expectations in check. And a lot of people, I still see it to this day on all social media. They do it all the time. They hype themselves up. They say this is gonna happen. You can especially see it with the Smash community.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Oh my god!
but
while we're thinking about this though, I think it's a little unfair because Sony and Microsoft are just realizing how big of a sleeping dragon Nintendo was.
I think Phil already knew.
They made these dudes. they like, oh, okay, Nintendo's folding, and they're like, nah, we're just trying out this mobile stuff for a little while because we got this little chip we got pitched and we want to see how it works.
Right.
And they're like, so we'll do this console because this console could be both a portable and a handheld. You know what that means? All our studios consolidate. So now you were working on the DS project, you were working on the GBA project, you was working on the Wii U project, you were working on the Wii project. Oh, now they're all Switch projects. So how do you compete with 30 plus games on a mobile plus 30 plus games on a console? Now they're all under one roof a year.
And then you got to look at where you're talking about too.
That's just first party.
And just think about the region they're at. Like Japan, they do a lot of traveling to work and all that. People are pulling out their Switches. That's why Switch is selling like that. Because if you tell me I can play Trails of Cold Steel 3 on my Switch and I ain't got to be locked at home. That means I can play it on my commute to work and back home.
Yep.
Exactly.
Or be like other people literally playing that game at work. You know how that goes. Like it's just
hey, man, like, I'm not gonna incriminate myself. So
would not confirm or deny.
There's one other aspect to this problem with people being hyped up about the different showcases, and that's because some people follow the bigger, more popular
channels,
content creators,
Right.
And a lot of them will say, well, this is what I want to see, and everybody for some reason just jumps on that bandwagon and just assumes A, B, and C have to be there because this dude said something, but D, E, F ends up there, and then they get mad about it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of similar to a post I made earlier in regards to this whole Pokemon Legends situation. If you put up a poll right now and ask people, what do you expect to see at the next Nintendo Direct? They're going to regurgitate anything they heard from their content creator. They're not thinking outside the box about anything. They're just only regurgitating the stuff they've already heard via rumor or their content creator. And that's where it gets frustrating, because it just goes into this never-ending cycle. So even with Smash, with the Pyra and Mythra, people are still waiting on Ryu Hayabusa. And then like some other Sora for some reason, and some other characters, but because it keeps getting spewed out there, so they don't even think about any other possible characters. They're only going to regurgitate what keeps getting told to them, and that's the bigger problem.
Yeah.
So I think that was another thing too with the people don't think for themselves. It was another discussion I had where we bring up the same arguments all over again. They're all circular in nature anyway, but dude was like 32 gigs of storage is just unfeasible for 2021 or whatever, and I'm like, man. And I said, okay, so tell me where you get this logic from. Oh well, compare it to other stuff, and I'm like, so, but how does that mean it's not possible if that you got 500 gigs here or 120 gigs here and 32 gigs there? And I'm like, if that's the case, why do these games exist then if we're still dealing with, and Nintendo doesn't put out that many 32 gig carts, so a lot of these carts are like 16 gigs or so, and we still seeing stuff like Doom and whatnot showing up on Switch. So how do you compensate for that? What do you mean when you say, oh, you need a 1 terabyte hard drive? Why doesn't the Switch have a 1 terabyte hard drive? And I'm like, where are you getting this information from? Where's your logic from? And they just say, well, 32 gigs isn't enough. Why? And then they go, well, because file systems are the same across, and I'm like, okay, but the games are there. Explain why they're there. And if they're there, that means they did something to make sure it fit within 32 gigs.
Right.
But you're not arriving to that point because all you want to do is regurgitate the talking point of this paltry storage.
Yeah. Yep. And to be honest, you can get a terabyte on Switch if you want to.
Yeah, you can.
It's going to cost you. Yeah. But the thing is, a terabyte on PS5 and Xbox Series X ain't gonna do you no better.
No, it's gonna be less.
Call of Duty is what
500
gigs.
They just said
500.
They just said they worried about the PS4 base users because 500 gigs are not gonna be enough for Call of Duty now.
Yeah,
this is nuts.
So there you go. Now, Pokemon Direct. I'm glad you brought that one up. So they get another 20 minutes. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'll be forgetting that Nintendo owns Pokemon because I'm like, they do their stuff by themselves. I'm like, man, okay.
They own Pokemon, but not Game Freak.
Yeah,
not Game Freak. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I did not realize it's their 25th anniversary. I did not realize that.
Man.
So the whole first 5 minutes of the Direct is basically them going through everything, and I just realized the Pokemon series has the worst parents of all time. So, of any media, they just let their kids go fight gangsters and mobsters. I'm just like, okay, I'm like, let's be honest. Child services would have got these kids.
You're 15 now. It's time for you to go and be a Pokemon master. Like, all right.
What the hell? Okay.
You're not finished with school, nothing? Like, just...
I'm talking about, and they trying to get them out of the house quick so they can start their
Quick.
OnlyFans. So that being said, they did talk a little bit about Pokemon Snap. It's coming April 30th. Okay, I'm not too big on Pokemon Snap, so that ain't me. They are redoing Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and they're releasing that in late this year as Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Oh god. But Andre, you did say this was gonna happen.
They had to do that control anyway.
Yeah, I remember you saying that this was gonna happen with some of the other Pokemon DS games that they were gonna come over. I remember you saying that. But the one that I want to talk about is what they ended up with, and that is Pokemon Legends. And no, not Pokemon Breath of the Wild. It's Pokemon Legends, all right?
Hey.
Just
call it what you will.
Everybody think, look, just like now every difficult game is related to Dark Souls for some reason.
Yep.
I
Every
related to
world
Contra.
game is called freaking Breath of the Wild now.
Well,
And you got
but
the
to be
Metroidvania
honest,
stuff too.
to be honest, they did do that last shot where they pulled the camera back, and I'm like, okay, that was clearly an homage. But I actually like this idea.
Oh yeah.
I like it.
It's what people have been asking for the longest, to be honest. I mean, it was bound to happen, but it just all depends on how they make it work. And as much as it sounds like an excuse, people really have to understand that the Pokemon Company was on handheld exclusively.
Yep.
Their first foray into it for real was Sword and Shield. So I mean, you can talk about the GX whatever games that were on GameCube and like that don't count.
That wasn't them.
Right, and it wasn't even them. So it was like, okay, now we're looking at them really trying to get their feet wet. I mean, Nintendo said it back on the Wii U. Hey, look, this is our first experience with HD. We're trying to get used to it, when they were working with Unreal Engine and everything else. So it takes time. So, I mean, this is definitely something that they've been working on. And don't think just because you bitched and complained that this popped up out of nowhere.
No,
like they just start doing this. They've been working on this. And what they showed you, I guarantee you, is something that's probably an early build from sometime last year that they just had to put together to show you on Pokemon presentation. So that's
not coming till next year. So
it's not coming until early next year, probably March, if not April timeframe of next year.
Now you may get something else at TGS. You're not gonna get nothing for this at E3.
No,
you'll probably get something at TGS because TGS is usually in September, October, depending on whenever they want to do it. But
just Pokemon don't need E3.
Yeah,
they don't.
Pokemon is one of those. Pokemon is one of those rare franchises that really they're so big that I'm surprised that they even need the games anymore. They got anime, they got anime movies, they got regular movies. They're good.
I mean, they don't need the games, but I mean, when you can sell out to a bunch of people that said they were going to boycott you, but they bought both versions of your game and the DLC.
Oh, that boycott worked, didn't it?
Beautifully.
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't still make games.
But even look at. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, but they don't have to. They're one of the few franchises that really they don't have to.
They don't have to.
That Pokemon franchise is kind of like the Star Wars and Star Trek franchise. They're so big that if 25% of their fan base get the game, they're good.
Because honestly, it kind of goes back to what I think Phil was saying, and then also I think somebody over at Sony was saying the same thing. Nintendo was kind of like the gateway drug. It's just like they get the kids into gaming, and Pokemon is one of them. You watch the anime, you instantly want to go and try to replicate in game. Really, you can't, but you're trying to. It's the same thing I used to do with wrestling. When I watch Monday Night Raw, I go turn on No Mercy instantly. Yep. So it's like you get that feeling. I watch the basketball game as much as I despise 2K sometimes. I'll get done watching basketball. I'm like, I'm gonna go play 2K right now. Yep. It's that gateway drug. So I mean, they got it on lock, and I feel like they do a good job bringing new kids in, and they do a good job ignoring the adults because that's who you truly need to ignore. Yeah. Bring your kids in because that's who's gonna keep giving you your revenue with these cards and watching the anime. The adults are just there.
Some of those old adults are gonna complain, but they still gonna buy it all that.
They still gonna. They have to.
I mean, look at Pokemon Go. Yes. Pokemon Go was for kids the app was made for kids to get up and walk around. Yep. That's all it was for. You got grown couples sitting up there. Oh man, babe, don't move. Do not move. Why?
Guilty.
Pikachu is on your hip. Don't move, girl. Woman, do not move.
Took that thing across 3 states. 3 states for that game.
You got. I've seen one where a lady, she was on her YouTube channel. They were driving, and Eevee appeared on her husband's thigh, and she was like, "You better not move." I'm like, "What? Like, what is going on here?" These are. I'm not seeing the kids use the game. It's the adults using it.
It was the adults.
Yeah.
Heavily. I remember plenty of times going on my lunch break, leaving post, and there's a Snorlax right next to the post of where I am out the gate. And I'm like, oh, I got to stop right here. And they're like, why are you just sitting here? Don't worry about all that. I'm just sitting here trying to get my stuff.
Gotta find this thing real quick. Don't worry about it. Don't write no report. We good.
Mind your business. Mind your business.
And there were so many accidents with that game too, like people jumping out of the car in the middle of a highway. Man, yeah, that's a phenomenon for you.
Even though I will say the thing that got me, that made me think like, okay, this is actually a cool thing that they did, was when they had that big event to get Mewtwo in New York.
Yeah.
And all them kids and adults were there. I'm like,
yeah,
that was actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah, you're not gonna see whole families out hunting.
Whole families out trying to get that damn Mewtwo, boy.
That's what Tim didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
They were a breath of fresh air, no doubt. But nah,
can't do anything with that. Now, the thing about it, I know people don't like that art style, but to be honest, it actually works for me because it's a fantasy game. I don't want it to look real.
Which one you talking about, Legends or
Legends?
Legends.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like art. It's a painted style again.
Yeah, like oil
it's a fantasy, and like to me, I really need that because, like I said, these are the worst parents in all of history. So, like, they let their kids leave at 10 and don't expect them to come back.
Yeah.
Like,
they did not at all.
They're like, oh, they have their bicycle. They're okay.
I see shoes and bicycle and send you something to eat, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Look, you can call back home for some money every now and again, but
I'm pretty sure 25 women named Joy will help them.
And the funny thing about it is, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, they are fighting gangsters, they fighting mobsters, and so I'm expecting warlords, samurai warlords in this game.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
it would be interesting, but I don't think it goes that far back.
Oh well, I mean, one can only dream. So, yeah, I thought it was actually pretty cool though, because like I said, I wasn't expecting to see I completely forgot it's been 25 years, so it was actually pretty cool seeing like all the stuff that they've done. That's why I was like, they really don't need to if they don't want to, and they actually
had an arcade cabinet and a VR game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I didn't even.
Half of the stuff that didn't come to the States, which I know why. But yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So the last thing we're going to talk about is AEW Games 2.0, Kenny Omega, this time with Brandon Cutler. He actually gave Xavier Woods a shout out.
Yeah.
Slash threat, kind of. I feel kind of bad because like one of my favorite memories from them two is that rivalry they had with Street Fighter at E3 that year. And they were going back and forth.
You and Cam.
Yeah, that was a good. I'm like, man, if Vince wasn't so stuck up, we could probably still see that. I would love to see them actually game together again. But we did get some. We did get a nice little featurette about them doing the audio.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was actually pretty cool because I did not know that's what they were doing.
Okay.
That's actually pretty cool what they did. They did do the GM simulator. They gave an update on that. That might actually be interesting now to me. The GM simulator might be interesting to me. I'm wondering if that's going to tie into the actual game when it drops. That's why they're going to release it.
I hope so.
Game.
I hope so, but I don't know if it really will or if it'll have that big of an impact.
Right.
Yeah.
But it'd be a cool thing to add though for people that are, big fans of back in the day.
Yeah. So the last thing they did, and this game is actually, by the time y'all are seeing this, this is already out, and that's the casino game. I'm not really feeling it, but I do like the trailer for it. The trailer is awesome, but I'm not feeling the casino game. I don't like casino games like that, so that's probably just me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he's doing this, and he says there's going to be at least one episode a month.
Yeah.
So, and they are saying the gameplay is coming along smoothly. They're actually way ahead. He said they were ahead of where they thought they would be. So that's a good sign. Right. That's a good sign. And he did bring up the fact that they're not going to cyberpunk this. I'm like, damn.
Oh, they're gonna be the butt of a lot of jokes from here on out for a while.
Yeah.
I feel bad because like CD Projekt Red, once again, nobody wants to admit it, but it's not as simple a situation as you guys think it is. Right. I keep telling y'all, they are not a private company anymore. They're public, and they don't answer to gamers. They don't. I hate to be the one to break it to you.
Answer to investors. That's it.
Yeah, when you answer to investors, and investors, you're lucky if you have an investor that's an actual gamer. You are lucky. Very
rare.
So,
and even then, they're not the entire board. So
yeah, and board gets whatever the popular vote is. That's what happens. I mean, so I understand people's frustrations, but once again, it's not a black and white situation as you would think. But yeah, I feel bad for CD Projekt Red, but let this be a lesson. Next time, just make the game for PC and then port it after you figured it out.
Yep,
that's their wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's
stay on PC.
Just stay on PC, and once you get it, once you build your base up, then port it to the consoles if they can handle it.
Right. That used to be a thing. So you had Doom 3 will come out for PC, and it'll be like a year or so, and then there'll eventually be a console version. Just all kind of. Remember, at one point in time, the Medal of Honor games, they stayed on PC for a while, and then they didn't come to console until maybe 2 or 3 years or whatever.
Yeah,
like there wasn't an Allied Assault console game until 7th generation, and that game, that game was old.
Yeah,
it took a long time for Allied Assault to come. They tried to make versions of Allied Assault, so everybody tried to do the Normandy Beach thing, but it was never like the PC version of Allied Assault until it was actually ported to 360 or whatever later on. But they tried to do it in the 6th generation. It never worked. So PC first that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
And I would suggest that for MMOs eventually need to come to consoles at some point.
Eventually.
But I think
not right now.
You launch it first and then you go from there. You go launch on PC first and you go from there. So
especially since now you can use controllers on PC, I think it'll be way better for people like that. So all right, people. We are hitting an hour and a half, and I really, 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 really tried to get this under, but we got some good conversations going, so I just let it ride. That being said, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see that hand. So,
hey, don't hate that man in his time right now.
I would never do that.
That's beautiful right there. That's beautiful.
On purpose. So, being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast tonight. I had a good time going over some of this craziness that we got in the world of gaming. There is one topic that I want to get to, but I'm saving that for next week. So, just because we kind of went a little over. Microsoft, do not drop a direct next week. Please don't.
Well, there it goes. It's gonna happen
Wednesday.
Please, God, don't. Because we already got. Because we got
Don't make a video about it, Andre. Don't make a video about it.
I ain't got to. All I gotta do is think about it.
Because we already got the Pyra thing on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So please don't drop a direct, Microsoft. I'm begging you. Give me a week. But that being said, thank you guys for watching. So Shadow, anything you want to pimp out? Last thoughts? Final thoughts?
Channel is officially live in 2 days, so stand by. I'll put an announcement up on YouTube officially.
Okay.
Had to get some business stuff out of the way first, but now everything's good to go. So y'all see stuff from me soon.
Cool. Nice. Andre?
I ain't have anything coming this week, mostly because I'm just in the planning phases of some stuff. But March 12th, the next game idea, Foundry Talk.
Nice.
And that one will be about Zelda.
But
what's that about?
Nah, I'm joking. Any final thoughts, Jack?
Yeah, I was talking about last time of bringing my channel back, and now I'm starting to get the idea to start talking more about the VR space now that I'm like really, really into it, like pretty big. So be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna try to play certain games and get certain games and kind of give my feedback, and not necessarily a review, but more or less of kind of give a good idea, because it's a little space right now. Like you got a couple of people that's like really into it, but honestly, if it's not a big game, most people don't pay it any attention. And I found some hidden gems here and there, and just to kind of give people a good idea of what they should pick up, kind of like a Hyper Dash just released yesterday, and then there's The Climb 2 is coming out on March 4th, and I know a lot of people were looking forward to it. So I think I'll start adding VR into my content when I get the channel back up, of course.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Nice. So we're going to be on the lookout for that. Also, I'm going to try doing a nice little brand. Instead of using the whole Geek Life thing, I think I'm just going to brand everything Winging It.
Okay.
So put everything under that.
Okay.
Finalizing some ideas on the hashtags we're going to be using. We got 2 we're going to be using. So I'll let you guys know next week about that, so we can start like this. This is going to be our hashtag for this. So thank you guys as always for watching, commenting, appreciating the channel. We do appreciate the love that we receive from you guys. I would say something funny, but I'm out of jokes for the night. So I really am. So we'll see you guys next week. No, and also don't forget to, if you can't watch the YouTube channel, that's fine. We do have it on audio, so you can get it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and and on Anchor. So if you would prefer to listen to it that way, those are usually up by Wednesday at the latest. So just so you guys are aware, if you can't watch the YouTube show. So that being said, hope you guys have a lovely evening. Peace, love, soul, all that Don Cornelius stuff. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace out, Pete.
Peace out, everybody.